हेलो फ्रेंड्स, यूट्यूब चैनल मूविंग रैबिट में आपका स्वागत है। इन टुडेज वीडियो वी विल डिस्कस द फर्दर अमेंडमेंट्स which have been carried out in related party transactions framework as per the SEBI LODR. As you know, in our earlier video we have discussed the legal background behind these amendments and major changes which have been carried out in the definitions of related party and related party transactions. So, in furtherance to that, we will discuss the other amendments which have been carried out as far as RPT framework is concerned. So, apart from the changes in the definition of the related party and related party transactions, one of the significant amendments which has been carried out is uh, the meaning of the material related party transactions. Earlier, a transaction with a related party was considered material if transaction either individually or collectively was exceeding 10% of the annual consolidated turnover of the listed entity. Definition earlier meaning of the related material related party transaction was just it was depending on a threshold, but now a minimum absolute figure of rupees 1000 crore has also been prescribed, and whatever is the minimum of that rupees 1000 crore and the 10% of the annual consolidated turnover shall be considered as material RPT. So, the major impact of this definition is that the larger companies which have their higher annual consolidated turnover, and suppose the 10% was coming way beyond the 1000 crore, but even if the transaction is of 1000 crore, those transactions will be considered as material RPT. So, apart from the definition of material RPT, a new concept has been introduced in SEBI LODR. That concept is of material modifications, because there was no existing provision in the old SEBI LODR, but now it has been prescribed that audit committee has to define the material modifications, and they have to disclose it at part of their policy on materiality of the related party transactions, and the prerogative has been made of audit committee. I mean, it is up to audit committee to define what is material modifications. That modification, I mean, that material modification can be with regard to supply of any quantity, any monetary value. So nothing has been prescribed specifically that this material modification has to be on what basis, and it is totally the prerogative of the audit committee. Now, there has been a change in the mechanism as far as approval of material modifications is concerned. As per the existing provisions, all RPTs require prior approval of the audit committee. And as per the amended provisions, apart from the related party transactions, subsequent material modifications will be having the meaning what has been prescribed by the audit committee, and which is part of the related party transactions policy. So, apart from the related party transactions, these subsequent material modifications shall also require prior approval of the audit committee. So, not just for the related party transactions, but for the subsequent material modifications will also require the prior approval of the audit committee. And second part is that earlier material related party transactions were requiring the approval of the shareholders. However, after the amendments, it has been specified that apart from the material related party transactions, subsequent material modifications shall also require prior approval of the shareholders also. So the prior approval is required by the shareholders also. Now, as we know, there were some exemption provisions in SEBI LODR as far as the provisions of approval of audit committee and shareholders are concerned. So, as per the existing provisions, the transactions between two government companies were exempt, as well as the transaction between a holding company and a wholly owned subsidiary company whose accounts are consolidated with the company were also exempt from these provisions. And in this exemption list, another exemption has been added, that is the transaction between two wholly owned subsidiary of the listed entity, that listed holding company whose accounts are consolidated with the holding company and are placed before the shareholders at the general meeting for approval. So, the genesis of this exemption is because earlier there was the transaction between a subsidiary company of the listed entity and other subsidiary were not covered. Thank you, friend. That's it from this video. If you like the video, please share it and subscribe our channel for the further notifications. Thank you.